creating a listener yesterday, right? If you remember, let me open the presentation too. So we have seen a listener for a frame here, which is we created a separate listener, and we attached it to a frame which we have created, and whatever the method is needed, right, we just triggered that method, and we wrote our logic so that whenever a form is closed, the corresponding method will be called and the logic will be executed so that the form will be closed, right? So that is what has happened here yesterday. Okay, so let us move on with creating more optimized way of listeners. So here what we have created is we have created something which is a separate listener, right? And so among this listener we used only one method, if you can see here, right? We have used only one method here, and the remaining methods are something which we haven't used, right? In this case maybe it may be needed, right? You may need to actually use the remaining methods only for a frame or a window. This listener is only for a window listener, right? And for only for window listener there are more than one method actually. For remaining like button or checkbox listeners, right, they'll not be having these many methods. At least they'll be having minimum of one method or maximum of two. So in this case of window listener, so yeah, it will be like we also have something called class. So this is an interface which we have seen, which is a window listener. We can also go for a class which is which we can also use it as a listener for our frame window. We'll see what exactly is that. So we'll create a new class. There's a CLS listener win class maybe. So we have something called extends window adapter. Yeah. So the window adapter is again an event which is in Java AWT package. So this window adapter, it is same as Windows listener, but only thing is this is a class where we are actually inheriting this class, and this class contains all the methods whatever window listener have got. But why we are using this is, so whatsoever method we need we can create it over here. Let us say I want window closing, right? You can see that every method is there, all the methods you will find it. If you do this, you will see window activated, window closed, window deactivated. Whatever we have in window listener we will be having in window adapter. The only basic difference is whenever we extend something, whatever method we need will be using that. So here we have used window closing. So let me just copy this logic here to close a, and you can write it here, right? So that's how we can use. Now we can use in our frame, instead of CLS listener, we can use listener in class. Okay. Just replace this, and it should work in the same way it used to work for interface CLS listener. Let me run this once. Yeah, it is being closed. So that's why we can use a separate class. But anyways, this class is for only for frame, which is a window in our AWT. But for remaining all the controls, all the components like button and all, we'll be using a direct interface, right? We'll be using a direct interface in some other way. We'll see what is a new way to actually create a listener for a component, right? So this is how you create a frame basically, right? Now in this frame again there is one more thing, that we have used something which is separate class. So we created a separate class, we created everything like a listener and all. Now here you can also do one thing. So instead of creating a separate class, right, you can actually create a listener directly in your same class. So here you can see we have extended this with a frame, right? So you can also use something called same class as an listener, or what you can do is you can just remove this. Here you can just say new window adapter. Okay. So this is something which is called as an anonymous inner class. Right? You are creating an anonymous inner class, which means this you are actually creating a direct class which extends window adapter. You are not creating a separate class. Right? So that is nothing but an inner class, or we also call it as an anonymous inner classes. Right? Now here you can see all the inner methods will be there, all window activated, window closing and all. Let me use this. Now here I'll do system dot exit of 0. Right? So we don't have any more listeners now. We don't need any more listeners, right? We are directly using anonymous inner class, which is of window adapter, and we are closing it up. Let me run this. Close it up. Now you can see it has been closed. This is how you can use. Now this means that you are actually directly creating an object of window adapter inherited by some other class, which is not here, but it will create a virtual class. You can see here, this is the start of class, end of class. Now this is like this. Now we have f.add window listener. This is a start of brace and close brace. Inside it needs a listener. Now we have window adapter as a listener, right? So I'm directly creating an object where for this object this is a class form, right? Opening a flower bracket, closing a flower bracket. So inside that, whatever method I need, I actually created directly, right? And whenever needed, right, it will be called directly into this. Okay? So that is how you create anonymous inner class to handle a listener, right? So we'll be using this pattern to actually close a frame, because for each and every frame we can't create a separate listener, right? So directly we can directly create a inner class and handle the window closing. That's it. Okay. Now this is how you create a basic frame and all. Now let us extend this with one more thing, which is, let me create a constructor here. Now we'll try to add more things in here. Let me add all these items here, or we'll create separate class here. So basically this is how you create a frame. Okay, this is how we create a frame. Now let us see how we can create a separate components now, like button and all. Okay, we'll see one control, which is button. Let me create a new class here. CSV components. Okay, yeah. So components, I'll make it extends frame, because I'm making this as a direct frame. Now here what we'll do, we'll write a constructor here, CLS component frame. Now whenever I create an object of this, which is CLS components LOBJ, CLS is equal to new CLS components, which means I'm creating a frame object, right? Now whenever you call this, let us say we are creating a direct frame, right? So in this direct frame, what we'll do is we'll directly go to the constructor here, which is the constructor here, and yeah, we'll set some size, which is this dot, maybe size, set size of, let us say I'm setting some 400 by some 500 size, and some this dot set title, right, which is, let us say, button some buttons, and this dot visible, set visible is true. Now why I'm taking this, I hope you know the meaning of this, right? This, in the sense, I am talking about the current instance. No, so whenever I create an object, right, so this will create a separate memory in a heap, right? So in that memory, whatever is a current instance of CLS components will refer to this, right? So whenever I create this one, which means if I run this up, you can see a simple window will be created, right, with the buttons. So these are instance we have created. Whenever we create an instance of this sort, which means we are actually extending a frame, right? And now we just created a sample frame. Now you cannot close this, right? Why? Because we have to handle a event. So that we close this, kill this here. Now how to handle? Again, you say this dot, you can say add window listener, right? Add window listener of, let us say I'm adding a window adapter here. Now you can see override it. Excuse me. We have window closing method, where we'll say that system dot exit of 0 state. Right. Now we created again a simple frame again, where whenever we create an object, so constructor will be called, we are setting the size and everything, which internally uses a frame, and then we are setting a listener. You can run this. You can see a sample frame here. If you close, it will be closed. Now let us go and add multiple controls to this. So let us start button here. Now let me add a button. Now button is again a component. So again, whatever component we have, so we'll be having inside AWT, right? So whenever I create a, so adding controls is same as, you know, we just have to use a class and directly add it into frame, right? We have already created a frame. We'll be adding the controls into frame, but we'll be setting few details for the buttons. Now let us say I'm creating a button. Let me call it as B1 is equal to new. Hello?
Srinath, this is Purush.
Yeah, Purush.
Srinath, why do we have in the constructor we have over, right? So why do we have super dot window closing of e?
Okay, super dot window closing is because I'm inheriting the window adapter, right? Whenever you actually inherit the class, right? So this is already been, you are overriding your method. Even if you don't call this, doesn't matter at all, right? But basically it's a property of inheritance, that whenever you inherit any class, right, and if there is a, if you are actually overriding any method, by default this line will be inserted, which is super dot window closing. So why this is inserted is first super class window closing will be executed, and then it will come back to this. Okay, so that's why we have this. Yeah. Let me take it as a button. Now you can see there is button of two types, which is direct button, or you can create a button with a label. So this label is nothing but whatever you can see on the top of button, the name, right, or the text. So that is a label here. Let me call it as a blue, right, some name here. And now, so this is a basic button which you create. Now even for button, as we have done for a frame component, right, again you have to set some by default things for button, because by default size of each and every component in AWT will be 0, right? Now for this button one, let us say I want to set bounds. Bounds is here is nothing but, you can see here, bounds is X and Y will give you from which place you want to start a button, and it gives something called width and height. Width and height is like, you know, it is same as we are drawing a rectangle, right? Width is a certain width and height is certain height, and XY is starting point. It will take the width as both width of a rectangle type and height of a rectangle type. Let us say I want to start it at some place like 50 x-axis, and y is some y-axis is some let us say 100 or some 80 pixel, and width of some 100, and height of some let us say 75, right? So this is a basic thing you have to give here, because set bounds is very important, because you have to arrange your controls as such. You are actually arranging everything, right? And then before adding anything, right, we have to always set, if you don't have any layout. So we'll be coming to layouts when we actually come to swings, because in swings we'll be using in real time, right? So I'll explain the layout when we come to swings. So here, as of now, set layout as a 0. Now basically what is layout is, so whenever you set any layout for any window in for a desktop application, right, so that will take care of arranging all the components automatically in some manner, in some row manner or a table manner or a grid manner or some way, right? So that is nothing but your layout. But as of now, let us not get into layout, because in real time we'll be using more swings. So there I'll explain the layouts as per swings, right? So it's b1 dot we have set some bounds, and then let us add this. So how can I add this? So I have to add it to frame. Now what is a frame? My current class is frame, so I can do this dot add of my component, which is b1, and that's it, right? Now we have added a sample button to your component. Let me run this. Now you can see the button here, right? A button with the blue, and you can see the height and width, and you can see I've started from 50 x-axis. This will be the x-axis, right, and 80 y. So this will be the 80 y-axis. So this is the starting point, and from here it's a width, height, and again a width and a height. It will draw something like rectangle, and internally it will convert to button. Now you can see whenever I click this button, nothing is happening, right? Nothing is happening because we have to handle everything here. As you remember, even for closing it was not happening by default, right? So we have to handle the closing, and we here again for each and every component, right, you have to handle your own window or event listeners. When I'm clicking this button, which means I am intending to generate an action to be captured somewhere, or somewhere is nothing but a listener, right? Even for button we have a listeners actually. Now whenever I'm actually clicking here, which means I'm actually using something called button maybe event. So for button event we have some listener. So let me create a separate class here first, which is CLS, let us say BTN listener. So now here so all our component listeners will be as discussed, it will be something like interfaces. Now for this CLS BTN listener, we'll implement action listener. So action listener is something which will give you the listener for a button, or action listener for a button or any other control, whoever needs the action listener. Now here you can see, let me just implement all the methods. Now you can see there is only one method, which is action perform, right? You can use this action perform this. Now here you can see now how to add the listener is, again for button you have something called add action listener, right? You can directly add an action listener here, where you have to create an object of that, as this is what we have done previously. So btn listener lobj is equal to new, sorry, is equal to new cls btn listener, right? So these are we created. And now so it is not always a right way to create a separate listener every time, right? Now again we have created a separate class for listener. Now if you have several buttons here, again what you have to do, you have to again and again create several listeners for that. But basically what we should do is, we should do all the listeners, everything in a same class, as we have done it for our inner classes, right? Inner classes, which is this. Now in the same way you can create your own listener here. So you can create in this way. you can actually make the CLS component as again a listener. I'll do this implements action listener here itself. Right? We know that you can actually implement any number of interfaces, but you can actually extend only one class, which means you can inherit one class, but you can implement any number of interface classes. Now this is possible. Now in this case, what we are seeing is your CLS components works as a frame and also as an action listener. Right? Now here let me minimize this components and main. Now you can see here it is giving an error. It says you have to implement an abstract method of action listener. Let me go and click here. Now you can see this override action performed is added over. Right? Now you don't need this listener. Let me close this. Now you can see you have a listener direct here. Now so what we can do, I can just say instead of creating a separate class object, right, what I can do is I can directly say this. Now in this case, whenever I say this, right, which means with respect to the requirement, this needs something called action listener, so it will take the action listener class instead of frame. But in this case, whenever I say this dot set size, which means I'm actually calling a set size method of a frame, right? So JVM will take care of whatever is the situation we need. Now this we are calling for both frame and action listener, right? So that is how it goes. Now in this action listener, we have one method called action perform, right? So in this action perform, you can do whatever you need. So let us do something like let me just set some background, this dot, right? So this is again whenever I'm setting some background, which means I want to set some color to background. How to set the color to background is you can say this dot set background, which means this in this case is a frame. So you have a class called color, which is a default class in AWT dot, let us say blue. Now which means whenever I click a button, I'm handling an action listener, right, where what I'm doing is I'm actually setting up my listener over in the same class. So let me run this, let me close this. Now you can see we have a button. Click here. You can see the color of your window will be changed. Now you can see that you are actually handling a listener in a same class. We're not doing anything apart from this class, right? So that is your event listener. Now let us extend this for more buttons. Let me say we have button B2 is equal to new button. So here let me take it as some green. Okay, so we'll have one more button here, which is B3. Okay. Now you have to set bounds for button. Set bounds. So here let me take it as so obviously you have to give some other right. So let me give it as 100. So this button will take it as a height as 50. So here let me take height as 50 again. So let me take 110 here, so that we are arranging this, and y-axis 80, and width let us take 100 again. Right. This is B2, and let me copy this. And for B3 button 3, we have again we have to add again some 160, 170 will give 80. Okay, and the same width on this. Okay, we are just giving different x-axis so that we need to change the position of them. Okay, now we have 3 buttons. We have set the bounds of 3 buttons, and we have to set the listener here. So whenever I set listener, b2 dot add I can say add action listener of this again, right, and again b3 dot add action listener of this again, right. Now we have to add all the 3 buttons. So this dot add of b2 and this dot add of b3, right. Now we are at 3 buttons. Now let me run this. So we have taken the same listener for all the buttons, right. So when I run this, you can see 3 buttons. Okay, they just clubbed up. Okay, let us arrange them. We are arranging them in different X, right, instead of x-axis let me put it as 50, and let me change the y-axis. In y-axis, so 80 plus 50 is 130, let me take it as 140 and 200. Let me run this. Yeah, much better. Right? I'm actually fixing the x-axis and I'm changing the y-axis. It was 80 first and then 180, and so right now you can see here. Okay, the last one, let us take it as some other color, like red maybe. Yeah. Okay, so close this window and run this again. Now you can see a separate thing in here. Right. Now here let me click on blue button. Yes, it changed. And let me click on green. Again you can see the same color. Let me click on red, again see the same color. Why? Because we have added a same action listener to each and every button. Now the question here is, whenever I change, if I have multiple controls, how can I use the same action listener to handle multiple actions of a button, right, or any other control? So for that you have something called, you can actually get the text of your button. So whatever button you are clicking, you can actually get the text of that. So based on text you can change your action. Now here let us say I have a string. Let me take the string here, which is lstr name maybe, is equal to, now you can see whenever any event is triggered, right, that event particular details will be sent to action event, which is E. So in this E you will have all the details, which is, we have something called get action command. So this action command will give you the name of or the label of a control or a component which you have clicked. Now this contains a name. Now here what we'll do, we'll say if lstr name dot equals with blue, let us say, right. If it is blue, then I want to make the background blue, right. So we'll go for else if lstr name dot equals, we say it has green. If it is green, then this dot set background of color dot green, right. And in the same way you have else if lstr name dot equals, we have last one, we have red, right, red. So if it is red, then make it as color dot red. Okay, now we have handled all the colors needed, which is blue, green and red, right. Now let me run this window. Let me close this window first. Now again you can see 3 buttons here. Now when I click on blue, it will be blue. When I click on green, you can see it turns to green. When I click on red, it turns to green. Now any combination you work, the action listener will be working in the same way you need, right. So that is how any of the action works as such, right, which is the same. Sorry. And this pattern is same for all. This pattern of addition is same for all the controls, right. Adding something and setting some bounds of that, and adding the listener for each control you need, and finally you have to add that control to the frame, and this will be arrangement as such. You are giving the bounds and all, as you have seen this, right. You can set bounds of your controls as such. So this is how you handle we design a form with different controls as such, right? So now so this is how each and every control will be working on. Let's if you can, just take this class tryout for checkbox. It will be same again for setting some this and setting bounds, same thing. Try out yourself once, okay, and let me know if there is any issue with that. Okay, now here let me give you the list of listeners we have, okay, because this is important. Let me give the complete list of listeners which we have in AWT. So let us classify this as component, and let us say what is a listener type you have and what is a listener method. So if you know this this table, right, there is more than enough for AWT programming. Any control you can design. So let us say my component is button first. So for button, you know that we have used action listener, right, and the method we have used is action performed. So this method is here, which is we have used action listener as a listener, and internally it is, you can see here, it is action perform method, which is public void action perform, right. It will be in this way, just keep that in mind, which is it will be in this way, right? That's okay, that's not a problem. Now you have checkbox here. For checkbox it is item listener. So item listener is something whenever you have a checkbox, which means it may change its state to true or false, right? So for that we have item listener. So the method will be item state changed, right? And then you have something called text field. For text field we have two things, which is action listener, again action listener. In action listener, again obviously it will be using action perform, and then you have one more thing called focus listener. This listeners will be same even in swings, so we'll be actually concentrating on more controls in swings as such, okay. Focus listener, you have something called focus gained or focus lost. Now this is one thing, and then you have text area, right? And again text, for text area, yeah, these are same, it will be same and it will be same again. Now then you have a choice. So for choice, again it is action listener, and also you have something called for action, yep, item listener. Anyways, for action listener it is same, which is action perform here, right? For item listener it is item state changed, because for radio button, right, you will be changing a state. That is your choice. And then you have list. For list you have again action listener, and you have again an item listener, because each and every item you will be clicking, you will be getting back. And again obviously you have action perform and item state changed. And finally, yep, we have window, which we have seen, window or frame, let us say, right? We have window listener, or we have seen something called adapter, right? Adapter. So here we have many methods, which is window, closing, we have window, closed, we have activated, right, we have deactivated, and what else we have open, right, and we have so many, okay? So these are the complete set of listeners we have. You can see there are only 3 to 4 listeners. Action listener is one, you can see it is used in most one, and item listener is one more, right, it is second one, and focus listener the third one, and you have window listener. That's it. You have mostly 4 listeners, and these listeners work in the same way as such, right? So this is how we create a listeners for each and every control, right? And these are the maximum set of listeners we have. Fine.
Hey, Sriha,
Yeah.
can you copy that list? I mean, the list of listeners and everything to a text file or something and share it?
I'll share it. Yeah, I'll share this. Sure, I'll do that.
This list, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
thank you.
Okay, that is what is all about this. Now let's move on to the next topic in AWT, which is some graphics. So graphics, in a sense, not actually the animation graphics, but it is like, whatever you do in AWT, right, is internally it will draw a graphic and then it will show it as some representation. Now let us take an example of a button again. So button is a button, we can say it as a simple rectangle, and it will be connected to some control, right? In the same way, we can also create some graphics here. Let me take it as a new class. Let us say CLS graphics main. Again, let me create the same CLS graphics here. So in here, let me make it as extends frame here. So here what I'll do is I'll do a catch and I'll create OPJ. So here what I'll do, OPJ dot set size. You can do it in any way you want, right? Set size of some width, some maybe 600, and height some 800, and OPJ dot set title. Let us say maybe graphics, and OPJ dot set visibility. So these three things are very important. Right. Now these are very simple window which we have created. Now it will create a window. Okay, let us give some decent height and size, 400 and 500, right? And then we'll handle some add window listener, right, with new window character 1. We'll write window closing event here and system dot exit of zero status. Right, now we have this. So if I run this again, you can say decent window and you can close this. You can close this window. Fine. Now let's go and add some graphics to this. Now here itself, let me add some OPJ dot set layout to null. We'll get to layout so in upcoming class. So yeah, you have many internal graphics in AWT, like rectangle, like line, like round rectangle, oval and all. Let us see how we can actually draw each and everything. Now here in frame, right, you have one internal overridable method called paint, right? Paint here. Now you can see paint will give you an object called graphics object. Now whatever you do using this graphic object, right, will be applied to your frame. Let me take out this constructor. We don't need this because we have already done everything here itself, right? Now in this, let me just basically do something here and try catch. Now let us say I'm just setting some color to this graphic, right, which is color dot maybe some gray. I'm just setting a gray color, right, in graphic. Now if I run this, right, you can see the color. Okay, the gray is not visible already. Let us make it as maybe blue, or blue, right? Now this set color blue is nothing but whatever graphics you are going to do, right, they will be visible in this color, which is blue. Now first graphic, let us draw a rectangle. Now how can we draw a rectangle is, again you have to take a graphic object G dot, you have something called draw rectangle. You can see here, draw rectangle. Now again it is same as drawing a button. Now let us say I have to mention my x-axis and my y-axis and my width of rectangle and height of rectangle, 75%. I'm just drawing a rectangle using my this. Let me run this. You can see a basic rectangle will be, let me increase this to 50 and maybe to 70. Yeah, you can see a base rectangle will be drawn. This is something which is a rectangle you are seeing. Now here you have something called draw round rectangle. Now this round rectangle is again same as rectangle, but it will be the edges will be rounded up. So let us take it as some 100 x and y will be some, let us take it as 200 and width of 100 and height of some 90. And now you can see, so till this part we have already seen. Now you can see this, what should be the arc width and what should be the height. Now arc width is nothing but, let us say this is a rectangle, right? So now you can see this corner, right? So during width side, how much should be the curve is nothing but an arc width, and during the height, what should be the curve. So you have to mention how much curve should be there. Let us say I want some 30 degrees curve and some 30 degrees curve again, right? So you want it more precisely, go for more rounding. If I run this, you can see that we have got a round rectangle. If you want to change the color of these things, right, obviously what you have to do is you have to go for set color before drawing any graphic. Now let us say I'm drawing a graphic here and it is should be red, right? Now if I run this, you can see it comes to the color, and we have something called blue here. Okay. Now in the same way, let us go for more graphics, which is G dot. We have something called draw oval, right? Oval. So this can be, oval is like, you know, it's a, we have only one thing which is oval, using which you can draw a, you know, a square, sorry, a circle or a direct oval. Let again, this contains the same parameters. Let us say we are starting at,
Srinath,
yeah Jami.
yeah, one my quick question. Where is this method getting invoked? Like, we have this main method, and where is this method getting invoked?
No, this method is an internal method of frame.
We are lost somewhere.
Okay, this method is internal method of frame. Whenever we create an instance of frame, right, this method will be automatically triggered.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This method is something which is automatically triggered. As we have seen in thread, right, run method will be automatically triggered, right? In the same way, this paint here, right? Paint, okay. Yeah. So here, let me take it as some 75. Y-axis to 150. So here width and height are nothing but, you know, they are anyways the diameters. If you give the same diameter like 90 and 90, let us say I'm just giving the same diameter here. Now you can see if I run this, you can see a circle will be drawn, right? Now obviously if you change the color, or sorry, if you change any one of the dimensions, right, now you can see something which is oval again. Okay, let me just change the x-axis to say maybe 145, maybe somewhere. Now you can see a separate oval here, right? Oval here. So that is oval, and that's how you create a circle. And then let us see, we can draw an arc, right? So in this arc again you have the same parameters, which is x-axis. Let us say we are giving x-axis to maybe 150 is our x-axis, and y, let us take it as 300, and you have to mention a width. So how it works is, again it takes width as a radius actually. So here width is radius and height is also a radius. With respect to the two radius, in between it will draw a graphic. Now it is like this. It is like so here we have a center. So here there is a width, and let us say there is a width, and let us say this is a height we want. Now after that we have seen something called start angle. Start angle is nothing but a 3 o'clock angle. 3 o'clock is in the sense which is in this way, at 90 degrees. Now this is a start angle. Now after that you have something called A angle, like from where you want to start. Let us say from here I want to start from 40 or some 10 degrees. So from this point your arc will be started. Right? From this point your arc will be started and will be ended as you write. Okay? We'll see that. Now here you can see that you have width. Let us say I want a width of 100. Let us say I want a height of some decent height of 80. You can see start angle. Now how much angle you want to say. Let us say, let me give as 0 here. Let us start from the same line, and let us say I want some 90 degrees, right, which is what we are drawing from here to this. Let me run this. Now you can see the same route. So from 0 angle started and it went till the line. Now obviously as you change the angle to 180, right, now obviously it will change the complete arc, right. So this is how you draw an arc. Okay, so these are a few things again, and obviously using these circles and all, right, you can actually draw more. You can also draw something called text. Draw text maybe. Draw, you have something called string. Yeah, draw string. You can see here, let us say it is hello world, and x-axis let me take some 200 and y-axis some 250 something, right? And let us say I'm just changing the colors from here, from oval, let us say, right, and let me give this round rectangle in this color of same rectangles, and yep. Okay, now let me run this. Now you can see, right, a hello and an arc. So these are some graphics which we have. Now in the same way you can actually draw in this way. So instead of draw rectangle, if you say fill rectangle, right, if you say fill rectangle, you have two things, one draw and one fill. You can see it will fill with the same color. It will completely fill with the same color of that, right. It is same for all. Let us say you are actually filling it for round rectangle, filling it for oval, filling it for again oval, which is of that oval shape, an arc, and draw string. Anyways, we have only a string. If I run this, you can see, right, some other graphic with the filled colors, right. So these are graphics internally will be done. Now you can use these combinations to actually design any graphic you want, right. So these are a few things which we have, and again obviously using these things you can actually design your own graphics with a fill color and a draw, right, and these are we use. Now let us see one more thing in here. Like in graphics, like you can actually draw something which you can actually create some motion type, right? Not exactly the motion which we get in animation, but something like, let me draw some random motion, which is, let me take it as say let's dots maybe, right. Now we'll create something where we'll create a random dots, and we'll see how this works. In graphics, let me take this one. Let's take this. And here, let me substitute this with graphics dots. Okay. Now here I have to extend this width. Right. Now we have made again dots of frame and we have set everything. Now here again let me take a paint method. We'll be doing something paint. Oops. We have a paint override method here. Now inside paint what we'll do is, now obviously you can see here if I have drawn something called, okay, we have one more thing, we have a line, we haven't drawn line. Okay, in graphics, anyways you can also draw something called line, g dot draw line. Yeah, okay, you can just mention your x-axis and your y-axis, something like 30, and again one more point, right, 2 points. Again maybe x-axis, let us take same 100, and y-axis maybe let us take some 200. I'm just changing something. So run this, right? You can see a line, right? Anyways, it is just clubbed up, it's a line. Okay, now if you give this point as a same, if x1 y1 and x2 y2 are same, which means it's a dot. Okay? Now we'll be using that concept to draw a dot here, right? Now but we'll be drawing dot in random way. We'll see how. So here what we'll do here, we'll just say so we'll just make this as, so first let us make this background as something, obj dot set background to color dot maybe blue or dark. I don't have that blue. Okay, let us take it as blue. Right, so that the window, whenever we open a window, it will be shown in a blue. Okay, fine. So now we'll draw it out. Now here before drawing, let me just set the color of graphic. Let us say whatever we draw, we want it in white, let us say. So now here what we'll do, we'll create an infinite loop, right? So how can we create an infinite loop? We have already seen, just don't give any declarations in for loop, it will be an infinite loop, because we want to draw multiple dots again. Now here what we have to do is, in order to draw a dot, what we need is, we need an x and y to be same of both edges, right? So let us fix this x, and we need something called int y. Now this x, let us take it as a random value, and yeah, for random we can use some math, right? Math dot, we have something called random. So this random will give us a random value in between 0 and 1. Let us multiply this with our width. We have taken a height and so let us take it as 800 somewhere, right? Okay, and yeah, we have to convert it into int. Right? In the same way y. So let me take a random value for y also. For y, what is y here? Y is something which one, let us double it up, or let me take it as some 600 maybe. Okay. 600, yeah. So we are fixing my x and y. Now we'll draw g dot draw line maybe where we'll give x y and again x space y again. We are just drawing a line here, and then so in between this what we'll do, we'll just call a thread sleep, thread dot sleep of some maybe 10 milliseconds maybe. Okay. Now what we are doing is, we are trying to do capture some motion here. Obviously for some motion you need a infinite loop where we'll be checking out how the dots will be created randomly, right? Let me run this. Now you can see dot will be generated, right? It's a random dots will be generated in as if it's a raining effect, right? You can see on a screen. if you have a screen, if you create this, obviously background graphics will be there, and but what happens is you can actually create these things better than it. So this is how you can. So I've given some sleep of 20 milliseconds, I hope 10 milliseconds, that's why it's giving some more. So now you can see I cannot close this window. Why I can't close this window? Because it is in a complete loop, which means this thread is blocked here. Now this thread cannot be killed. Now how can we kill? We have to kill the process again here, right? To kill the process, let us say I'm giving some lower sleep here, 1 millisecond. That will be much faster. It will be much faster in this one. And obviously using Java you can create some motions in this way, right? So we have just taken one graphic which is draw line, right? If you just make it like 45 plus 45, like where you are actually drawing some line, right? So it will be right, you can see it here in some other way, right? Okay, let me take it as some 45 and y as 25 and okay, and this as some 4. Obviously you can see the effect of it, how we create a motion. Now it feels like some things are moving out. Now this is how you actually create a motion you want in Java, right? So obviously these all things are base for all the graphics anyways, right? Anyway, so whatever they do, they will be done on top of this, right? So this is how you go for some graphics. In the same way you can draw anything in here, right? You can draw a rectangle again, it will be multiplied again, right? X, Y, and let us say I'm just drawing a rectangle, right, of X and Y, and width of 100 and height of some let us say 20, right? Some width and Y. Let us say I'm taking some small sleeve, you can see, right, motion will happen because rectangle and lines both are drawn at the same way, right? That's why it is so fast here. So this one, let's do for some 10 milliseconds. Right, now you can see this motion, right? We are actually drawing something on randomly. Even if you drag it up, right, you can see here, because we have taken something on some other way, so it is drawn on this. It is drawing, it is in infinite loop actually, that's why you can't even see the mouse pointer is moving so fast, so it has to paint up and you have to wait to show that, right? Because it is continuously running in an infinite loop, right? So that is how we draw multiple motion things. If you want to draw motion, obviously you have to fix your X and Y based on where to move, right? Now obviously in that manner you can actually move the rectangle wherever you want. So that is how we create motions. Okay. So this is something which is
there a method to
yeah,
sorry,
yeah, sure.
Is there a method to clear this window?
I'm sorry,
Like
yeah,
is there a method to like
every time make
clear the
so you want to clear those things, right? So again it is like once you draw something, right, once you draw something, again you have to repaint it. So you have to repaint everything. You have something called repaint, right? Repainting will actually create, every time you create something, it will repaint everything for you, right? Let us say you are actually doing something like okay, let me do that. If let us say I is, let me take I here, and I is equal to 0 maybe, and let me just say I'm incrementing my I. Let us say when I becomes 100, or if I is greater than 100, then I'll call it my repaint. Where my I is equal to 0 again. Repaint will again come back to this, right? And what we'll do, let us say this dot set background to color dot maybe black. let us see this one once. So it paints for some time until it gets to 100. So if I is greater than, again it should repaint. So it is not repainting this one. Okay, because once you draw this, you cannot you can clear using your repaint. Repainting in the sense, again you are actually calling the same method internally, but it is an infinite loop. Sometimes it may not be called. We have something called remove component. No. Repaint of this. I'll give you the method, Jami. Okay, let me just find out that. Okay, because this is something which is in infinite loop, right? That's why we are not getting that. Okay, I'll give you that method. Sure. So this is all about AWT, guys. So this is how we actually work with AWT, and this will be same even in swings, but we'll see more some controls in swings, because in real time we'll be using swings here. So AWT is something which is for heads up for a swing. So everything whatever we have seen, we have learned in here, like event delegation model or control or how we actually paint, everything is same in swings, but only difference is swings internally are completely developed in Java. So that's why swings, the view of even a window view will be different. Now here you can see the window view is some internal view, not the outside view is something, right? Not this one. Some graphics. Now you can see the window is somehow. So in swings you will see the better UI. Better UI, better shape of colors, or better shape of the controls like buttons and all, right? So we'll start swings from tomorrow, right? So it will be like we can actually see what are the component classes and everything, and we'll see how to create a frame, and we'll create a basic button, and we'll see how we can actually work with button, right? Fine, guys, so let's wind up here now.
So what time is tomorrow?
Tomorrow let us meet at the same time, because today main intention was to complete AWT, so that's why I've just taken 1.5 hour maybe. Okay.
Okay, same time meaning your